This video is to help you with the counting atoms practice. The directions say for each problem, write down the different elements in each molecule, write down how many of that particular atom there are, highlight the subscripts, and draw a box around the coefficients. So in this example here, first it shows us that the subscript is highlighted. Now subscript means the small number down below. Sub meaning down below, like a submarine. So the subscript is that small number down below. It's like an exponent, except it's low instead of high. So I'm gonna always highlight those subscripts, okay? And in this one, there's also a subscript I'm gonna highlight. And then it says to draw a box around the coefficients. Now, the coefficient is the number in front. In this case, there is no coefficient, which means that the coefficient would just be 1. In this case, there is a coefficient, so I would draw a box around that coefficient. Okay, so if we look at just this problem first, the two elements in this molecule are Mg, magnesium, and Cl, chlorine. So Mg does not have a coefficient or a subscript, which means it is just one of that. And then there is no coefficient, so again, that coefficient is just 1. But there is a subscript, so that subscript only refers to the element right before it. Okay, so this 2 means that there are 2 chlorines in this molecule. Then if I look at this example, I have 5ZnSO4. So this 5 applies to the Zn, it applies to the S, and it applies to the O4. Okay, so the elements listed are Zn, S, and O. So I'm going to apply this 5 to the Zn, and there's no subscript, so that just means that there are 5 Zns. Okay. The S, again, also doesn't have a subscript, so I'm just going to apply that 5, so there are 5 S's. Now the O is where it gets a little bit more tricky. The O has a subscript of 4, so there are already 4 oxygens in this molecule, and then there are 5 of this molecule. So I'm going to take the 5, times it by the 4, and I get 20. All right, so let's do some of these examples together. Now these ones I already listed for you, the elements that are in the molecule. So I have Na, O, and H. Now this one, there are no subscripts, so there's nothing to highlight. And draw a box around coefficients. There are no coefficients, so there's nothing to highlight or put a box around in this example. And so because there are no numbers, it just means there's one of each thing. So there's one Na, there's one O, and there's one H. Okay. This example, I have a coefficient of 4. Okay. Now this coefficient of 4 means that there are 4 of this molecule. The molecule is an HNO3, and there are 4 of these molecules. So I'm going to show that the 4 applies to the H, the N, and the O3. Okay, and I have a subscript, so I'm going to highlight the subscript too. Okay, so let's start multiplying. So I've got 5, and then there's no subscript here, which means it would just be a 1, so there's only 4 of those, so 4 times 1 is 4. This one also, the subscript is just 1, so it would be 4 times 1 is 4. This one, the subscript is 3, so I've got 4 times 3 is 12. All right, this one is the same as this example. So there's no coefficient here. There is a subscript. Okay, so there's only one Mg, and there are 2 chlorines. All right, let's do one more together before you complete the rest on your own. Actually, we'll do 2 more. So I see I've got Li and O, so I'm going to list Li and O. Those are the 2 elements that are in this molecule. And I see I have a coefficient of 4. Okay, and there is a subscript of 2. So this 4 applies to the Li2, and it also applies to the O. So Li2, so that means there are 2 lithiums in this molecule, and there are 4 of the molecules. So I'm going to do 4 times 2, which means there are 8 lithiums altogether. The oxygen, there is no subscript, so it's just the coefficient of 4. Okay, So you're going to continue doing that for all of these. List what the elements are, and then figure out how many there are. Let's go down here and do one that's a little bit more tricky. Okay, so here I have 2 SR3 PO4 2 times 2. Okay, so first thing, this means that there are 2 of the PO4s. Okay, and there's 2 of these whole molecules. So I'm going to highlight these subscripts. So let's list. I have SR, P, and O. Okay, so for the SR, there are 3 of them in the molecule, and there's 2 of the molecules. So I'm going to do 2 times 3, and I get that there are 6. Now, because this PO4 is in parentheses, that means that there are 2 of it within this molecule. So I'm going to do, for the P, there's just a subscript of 1. So I've got 2 times 1 is 2, times 2 is 4. Now for the oxygen, I have 2 times 4 is 8, times 2 is 16. Okay. Go ahead and complete the rest of these on your own, and if you need help from your teacher, you can call your teacher over.